Yes, here we are again, lesson number 107. And it's a bit more about court cards. And I'd like to introduce it this way. If you've ever had a flat tire, you've been driving and the tire goes flat or whatever. If you've ever had to change a flat tire, you know what it's like. And so you have to loosen the nuts first and then prop the car up. Because if you don't do that, then when the wheel is off the ground, it's really difficult to unscrew to make a start on unscrewing the bolt. So if you've changed a tire, you know what it's like, and you can talk about it because you've experienced it. You know what it's like. You can give your impression. You can just talk about it, and it's going to make sense because you've done it. Whereas if somebody tells you what to do to change a tire, and you're trying to repeat somebody else's explanation, but you've never done it yourself, it's much more difficult. And this is the problem, I think, when it comes to learning tarot card meanings. If you try to learn somebody else's meaning, you can learn it and you can know the words, but you may not really understand the meaning, or you may not be able to as easily to adapt the basic meaning to answer the question that you're dealing with. With that in mind, I have my trusty visual aid here. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit first about the four suits, and then I'll talk about kings, queens, knights, and pages. So, and I did this little diagram here. Okay, so that's a cup. It may not look like one, but that's my symbol for a cup. And so I wrote down three words that give you, there's more than three words, but these are three to begin with. And I'm suggesting that you think about your own words. Because if you think about your own words, it means that when you talk about the card or the suit, you're going to be able to talk fluently because it's your experience, it's your understanding. You're not trying to remember what I said or what anybody else said. So with cups, I thought of a cup of tea, right? And so I thought about the circumstances and the conditions under which people drink a cup of tea. And I wrote down relaxation. So you can have tea or coffee or whatever it happens to be, a warm drink, if you want to relax. So the suit of cups can represent relaxation in some way. Or if it's upside down, the lack of relaxation, but the need for it. The second word I wrote was comfort. So, you know, it can be comforting to drink some tea or coffee or whatever it happens to be. And some people drink herbal tea before they go to bed at night, and they drink chamomile, and that's supposed to relax them and so on. So cups can also represent comfort. So that you can find that a king or a court card in the suit of cups can be a comforting individual or somebody with whom you like to relax. And the third card I wrote down was recovery, because maybe you had a bad experience or something, and so you drink some tea, and by relaxing and breathing in and out, you recover and you feel better or stronger. And so the suit of cups can represent recovery as well. And so the king or a court card in the suit of cups can be somebody who helps you get yourself together or helps you to recover from something. And if it's upside down, then they prevent you recovering or they make it worse. So those are three words that you can use for the suit of cups. And I think you come up with your own ideas. So think about a cup, because maybe you think of a cup as a trophy that you get if you win something. You win the cup. And so it can be public recognition of skill or excellence or whatever it happens to be, whatever the cup is awarded for. So you may have a different starting point for the idea of a cup, but think about it and write down a few words that you might use. I was going to do kings, queens, knights, and pages today, but I'll maybe leave it till the next time and stick at this point with just the four suits. And if you can think about words that you would use to get an idea of what's involved with the suit. Then I've got coins. That's a coin. And I wrote down cash. So obviously the sort of coins can represent money. And so a court card can represent a person giving you money or through whom money comes. Maybe it's an employer. And so you're going for a new job and you've got a king of coins, then the new boss likes you because the card is upright and there's cooperation and so on. So coins can represent money, and upside down, the lack of money, not enough money, not quite as much as you thought you were going to get. It doesn't have to be poverty. It doesn't have to be the exact opposite. Money, no money. It can be money or not quite as much as you thought you needed or as you did actually need. So cash can be what's involved with the suit of pentacles and coins. And so kings, queens, knights and pages in that suit can represent people who bring you money or through whom you earn. I also wrote down acquisition, because some people collect. Some people collect stuff. They're always buying new gear or whatever it happens to be. They're sort of addicted to buying. And maybe you think about coins as it's not just collection or acquisition, but it's like an excessive acquisition. So maybe coins upside down would make you think of somebody who hoards whatever it happens to be. I know one fellow, and he's got 150 baseball caps. Wherever he goes, he buys a baseball cap. And he wears them sometimes, but you can only wear one at a time. And do you really need 150? He does, because he likes to collect them. He likes to acquire baseball caps, and they're not cheap. You know, he'll buy expensive baseball caps. So money and acquisition can go together. And because if you've got lots of money, it sort of implies freedom. And a lot of people want to win a lottery because they think it will make them free. Or if you know what it's like, that you want something, you can't afford it or you can't buy it, having cash in the bank means that you can buy whatever you want at that moment. So there's a sense of freedom comes with having coins, with having pentacles. And so a king, a queen, a knight, and a page can represent, it can be somebody who is like that, who can buy whatever they want. Or it can be somebody who encourages you to spend money. Because sometimes we can hold on to money because we can't afford it. And other people will say, just spend it and the money will come. That may or may not be true, but it's just more to think about with the suit of coins. So that's 3 words to represent coins. What would your three or more words be when it comes to pentacles? The fact that it's round might be important. The fact that there's a 5-pointed star in the middle might be important. Then I've got the suit of swords. So a sword is a weapon. Okay, so I wrote down attack and defense. So with a sword, you may need to attack a problem. So you don't just wait for it to fix itself. You deliberately go in there and make it happen or make it work. So the king, queen, knight, and page of swords can be a dynamic individual who takes action. And if there's a problem, they don't wait for it to clear. They grab whatever it happens to be and they go and make it change or they make it work. I happened to see a short video about Just Stop Oil protesters in Germany. And so they're sitting in the road and there was a woman got out of her car and grabbed 2 of them by the back of their jacket and dragged them off the road so that she could drive forward. So that can be the Queen of Swords, where she takes action. She's not attacking them, but she's grabbing them and she's removing the problem. And that can be what the swords can represent. A clear-cut way of dealing with a certain situation. And so it's attack, but she wasn't really attacking them. She was going up to them and dragging them out the way. So it's not attack in that you're, trying to kill people, but it's more like going up and getting your hands on and making it happen the way you want. Because the second word I wrote down was defense. And so a sword can be aggressive or it can be defensive. So a court card in the suit of swords can indicate the need to defend yourself against whatever it happens to be. I'm thinking somebody once said you can never have too much insurance. And so maybe that's what swords would represent. You buy insurance so that if something does go wrong, you're not left grasping or you're not left undefended because you've defended yourself. You've taken action to not face down the problem, but if there's a need to protect yourself, you've got it because of the sword. And the third card I wrote down was pruning, because if you get a sharp knife, and let's say you've got a rose bush or some kind of plant, if you cut off the dead bits, it encourages new growth. And this can be what the suit of swords is about as well. It's not just attacking or defending, it's also being clear and clinical about getting rid of the dead wood, which can be whatever it happens. Maybe it's a bad habit you've got, or maybe it's people in your life that are really not doing you any good anymore, or that you don't care for anymore. Or it can be possessions that you have that weigh you down and you have to keep taking care of them, but you don't really enjoy them anymore. And that can be why swords come up, because you're meant to, or it's a good idea to clear up and clear out stuff that's no longer enjoyable or useful or valuable to you. You either get rid of it and put it in the garbage, or you give it to somebody who will enjoy it and make good use of it. And that's you pruning and clearing up and fixing up your own life, and maybe helping other people at the same time by giving them what you don't want. I have got cards here, the Queen of Pentacles, and I had one of each suit, but I don't think we're going to get to that today. So anyway, the fourth one was batons. And so batons, I wrote down tool, because a baton can be a stick that can be a good tool if you need to lever something up off the ground. You can put a pole or something under it, and then putting pressure on one end, it will lift up the other. So a baton can be a tool in that way and help you do something that you're maybe not strong enough to do on your own. So that a tool is a lever. But also if you go walking, if you go walking, there's something about people having a walking stick. It's like a third leg, and it's valuable and useful, because if you go for a long walk using a walking stick, you're not going to be as tired at the end of the long walk if you've got a walking stick. There's something about a walking stick. But I'm also thinking of older people who need a cane to help them get about. And so a baton can be something that you use as a tool to help you move, or to help you be more efficient or more effective. And then I wrote down building. So a baton can represent wood, and you use wood in building. So creating frames, or a frame in a house for a wall, and then you nail drywall onto it. Or else it can be a frame around a painting or around a picture or a photograph. So the suit of batons can represent a practical, useful use of something. It doesn't have to be wood. It could be some people, if they're pouring epoxy to make a table, and they've got like cracks in the wood surface, you put some kind of protection around the edge of the table so that the epoxy or the liquid doesn't run off. And so that the suit of batons can represent the need for not so much a barrier, maybe a barrier, but also the idea of having some kind of wall or protection to keep things in their place. And the third, I wrote down support. Did I write down support? Yeah. So a baton can be, I forget why I wrote down support. Maybe I was thinking of walking and using a walking stick. It gives you support. Maybe somebody's got a broken leg and they're walking on crutches. So it can be a temporary thing you use to support you for the time being or in the short term. Or maybe if it's a building and you're building a wall, then it's something long-term support. So batons doesn't have to be short-term here with a walking stick. It can be long-term in a building. So I'm looking at the time, and I think what we'll do, I'll stop now. So think about 4 suits, not so much about the people, but next we'll look at the people. And I'll talk about that a bit. But in the meantime, why don't you think about the 4 suits off and on and see what ideas you get about what they're for or what they can be used for or what they're about or the kind of activity that they point to or that they suggest. So that when we look at kings, queens, knights and pages and what they're like, we're going to know what area of life or what type of activity they represent or they're involved with. Because I'm going to say when it comes to the court cards that the card can, the person can be a position that you hold or it can be a role that you play. So you may be 14, but you've got to be the head of the class or the head of your group. So that's you being a king, even though you're only 14. Whereas somebody who's 60, just beginning a new stage in their life or beginning a new kind of hobby or new kind of occupation can be represented by a page because they're youthful and inexperienced in that area at that time. So that was an introduction sort of for thinking about court cards. Understand the suits first in your own way. Go back to the tire, the flat tire. You're going to change it, so you've got experience and you know what to do and how to talk about changing a tire because you've already done it. And so in this way, you now can talk about batons because you've thought about them. You've got experience of batons and what they represent, so you can talk about them and relate the suit, any card in that suit, to the question that was asked. Okay, I'll see you in a few days. Okay, bye-bye.